everybody. This is Dr. Langdon, again, board-certified pediatrician, mom of 6 and grandmother to 2, currently chair of pediatrics at an osteopathic medical school, and still seeing patients in a practice in clinic. So I hope you guys all know by now that I am the biggest supporter of breastfeeding in the universe. And I still always have to say, though, that fed is best, right? So if I had a baby who was struggling with severe jaundice and mom's milk wasn't in, or excessive weight loss, we may occasionally have to supplement. Fortunately, these days, sometimes you can supplement with donor breast milk, or if mom has the milk and the baby's not latching, we can supplement with her own breast milk in addition to the contact feed attempts. Well, I say all that to say, one of my pet peeves is when a mom chooses not to breastfeed, which is her privilege. I am not here to throw guilt. Like I said, I love breastfeeding, but fed is best. And I strongly believe in the critical importance of the mom's mental health, and whatever she needs to do. No problem. But I guess I just hate lying. So one of my pet peeves is when a mom chooses not to breastfeed, which is her prerogative, but states that the reason she's not breastfeeding is because Dad just didn't have anything to do and he wanted to be more involved. I call BS incorrect, ma'am. Just be honest and say, my nipples are cracked and bleeding and I hate this, or I feel like I don't have ownership of my own body anymore, or it's exhausting and I have to nurse every hour and a half, or whatever the reason. Or you might need to go back on some life-saving medicines for yourself that are incompatible with breastfeeding, which is very rare, by the way. But if that's the case, that's fine. Or you could have a medical condition in which you just don't produce milk. Some moms with PCOS or thyroid issues may not be able to make a lot of milk. That's okay. Maybe you have PTSD from a previous baby and some horrible breastfeeding experience. It is okay. I'm just telling you, you do not have to tell us the reason. You can be honest with us. You don't have to tell us the reason is because Dad wants to be involved. So today's video is to tell you all the ways in which dads are essential for the success of this breastfeeding dyad, this relationship with mom and baby, and breast milk production and contact feeds and eliminating jaundice and making good urine and poop and good weight gain. All that essential stuff of this newborn period, the dad is right there in the mix. So let me just tell you both some personal stories and some realities of why I want dads to be on board with breastfeeding. Hugely important, hugely predictive of a breastfeeding success. So is, by the way, the feelings that the mom is getting from her own mom. So if the mom is hearing from her mom, that baby's hungry, you're not giving it enough, it's not gaining weight fast enough, I think it's dehydrated, I think it's suffering from a lack of milk. All baloney, of course. But if the mom's getting a lot of negatives from her mom, that can hurt this journey as well. So I need everybody in the family to be on board to encourage this mom, okay? So I'm just going to come up with a whole list of things that I need for the breastfeeding dad to do. Number one, as you can tell, have a positive attitude. We're in it to win it, man. I need you helping that mom by encouraging her. You can do this. Hang in there. You've got this. Your body was made to do this. Give her positive reinforcement and good messages. Okay, number two, you could be the one that's responsible for keeping track of pee and poopy diapers. For one thing, you're often responsible for changing them. That's number three. So I need for you to be available. Most babies, after they nurse or bottle feed, after they drink of any sort, have this thing called the gastrocolic reflex. So that just means their little tummies fill up. It triggers peristalsis of the gut and out comes a poopy. So it's often very helpful for the dad to be available to take that baby as it comes off the breast to the changing table to change its diaper. That would be handy. But you could also be the one to record the pees and poops, because a lot of times, early on only, the pediatrician at your weight check visits or newborn or 2-week well visits will ask about how many urine outputs in the last 24 hours, how many poopy outputs in the last 24 hours. And I will be also impressed if the father knows that information. Okay, that was 3. So attitude, tracking, and then number 3, actually changing the pee and poopy diapers. Number 4, you could help remind your wife to take some prenatal vitamins or postnatal vitamins. We do recommend that the mom's getting some vitamin D so she can hopefully have plenty of that in her breast milk. We actually also recommend the baby gets a vitamin D supplement as well. That's an American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation. And Also, the mom is often anemic from the delivery itself and all that blood loss, so it's helpful to take a multivitamin or prenatal vitamin with iron to help her red blood cells get built back up and boost her hemoglobin and hematocrit. So, good attitude, keeping track, changing diapers, reminding her to take her vitamins, just offering her fluids frequently, offering her food, helping her cook some healthy meals for her to eat while she's breastfeeding, so important. Also, a lot of times the dads could be involved in what I like to call milk management. So early in my career, for the first 10 years, I did the full pediatrician job, which is, long story, why it's hard to recruit peds to small and underserved rural areas, because the pediatrician, that was me for 10 years, is responsible for attending stat C-sections 24 hours a day, overnight, still seeing 40 patients in the office the next day. It's exhausting. Well, at one of my many jobs in the past, I was about an hour from home, so to take call, had to stay at the Holiday Inn near the hospital. And so I would have, to pump and pump and pump for when I was gone and come back with like 40 ounces of milk. And my husband was the one who would label it with the date, pour it into appropriately sized aliquots to freeze and then pull out later to feed the baby when he was home with them, because he was a full-time stay-at-home dad. Thank goodness, or we couldn't have pulled this off. Very much a team. But then at other times when I was living and working in the same community and took a call for the local hospital, I would get a stat page. That's how long ago it was, because we had pagers before cell phones. And it would say CS911. That meant we're having a stat C-section. A lot of times maybe they've lost fetal heart tone, something horrible. And the 911 meant this is an absolute emergency. Get your butt down here right now. And I would detach the nursing baby from my body while milk is spraying everywhere. Toss the baby, okay, maybe not literally, but very rapidly transfer the baby to my husband's arms while he, with his other hand, was grabbing freezer packs out of the freezer, throwing them into the breast pump, zipping it up, and I went over my shoulder with my work bag, and out the door I went. And so from the time I got the page till I left, till I was like in the car on the road, I mean, we could do that in about 3 minutes, because I could get to the hospital in 5 minutes from where we lived. And I usually got there within 8 minutes of when I was texted, or well, it wasn't texted back then, it was paged. And the rule was, I think at the time, you had to be able to get there within 15 minutes. And I usually could within 8, because if you've lost fetal heart tones, you better get there stat. And I did. Nearly ran over a neighbor once. But my point was, if he hadn't been a supportive breastfeeding dad, he wouldn't have known which freezer pumps fit into my breast, which freezer packs fit into my breast pump. And he did. He got them. He installed them properly. He wouldn't have known anything. And he was just always bummed when that happened, because the baby was hungry, was mid-meal, and then he would have to thaw out some previously frozen breast milk really fast while the baby's screaming, because they're like, what happened here? And it was just heart-wrenching. And then when they were older, the kids would often say, if I left for work, why are you going to take care of other people's kids? Why don't you ever stay home with your kids? And that was really hard. But that's not what this video is about. I want to encourage all the breastfeeding dads out there. Your job is critical. Your job is essential. You have to be an encourager, but not just with words, with actions, with changing that baby's diaper, keeping track of feeds, making sure your wife is well fed and staying hydrated, and just encouraging her all along the way with what a great job she's doing. You can even accompany her, if you have a chance, to pediatrician visits to help congratulate her when there is great weight gain in that baby. You may even have to help with literally positioning the baby on the breast. So many babies like to suck in that lower lip, and then they can do some trauma to the mom's nipple. So it's impossible for the mom to see under her own breast. So you may have to get out there and yank down that baby's lower jaw so it flanges out to get a wide-lipped latch, so it can make that nipple sandwich and get more of the breast tissue in there, so those gums can massage the milk ducts and get better milk transfer. So you, daddy of brand new newborn who is breastfeeding, are super important too. Thanks. I hope that was helpful. You guys, please subscribe, tell your friends, and if you have any additional questions, you can leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to do additional videos. Thanks.